Hello, everybody. This is the fifth general, Mrs. Z and Fifth, episode one, season two. Mrs. Z, what's up?
What's up? Yeah, it's good to be back again. Yeah.
Definitely. So, real quick, I want to thank everybody for tuning into season one. I also want to thank everybody for listening to our other show, The Round Circle. And we just want to let you know where you could catch Mrs. Z and Fifth. You can listen to us on various platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and a couple other platforms we got out there. So, very happy and excited about that. That season two, the launch of season two, will be on all of those platforms. And then don't forget, um, also where we put our stuff on Audio Mac, and we want to thank the community of Audio Mac because y'all been giving us the most love because that's where we started it off, and we'll still be having it on Audio Mac as well. That's not gonna go anywhere, so you know that's a good thing. Zaccheus, so I want to
Yes,
ask you
sir.
something.
Yeah,
So
man.
anything you want to say, thinking of people from last season, or just any words you want to say about our start of season two and what all the good things from season one and how you feel going forward, improving the show and everything else. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to thank the listeners for just tuning into the Round Circle and Mrs. Z and Fifth. It was a journey, and it was the topics. I hope the topics enriched you, and I hope that you gained some kind of knowledge or something from, or gained something from our audio show. So I really appreciate the for tuning in, and I thank you for the new listeners for tuning in too. So we thank you for the bottom of our hearts, me and Fifth and Cinemascape. So we really appreciate for you tuning in and listening. We need that support. So keep tuning in to us, keep listening, and we'll try to our best to give you knowledge and and topics that you can definitely think about. So thank you so much for the bottom of our hearts for tuning in. Thank you, yeah, for real.
Definitely. So we've had a lot of things go by this summer. Don't want to talk about everything, but a lot has happened since we've been during this off season. So um, we're gonna try to keep it current. Uh, I want to actually give. Ooh, I know what we should do. I want to I want to recognize this. We had a loss over the summer. The Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
Yeah. Yes, I was just about to tap on that. Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that, and God bless the family, okay? And
Yes.
because that was a big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Um, just a lot of stuff going happen this summer, but we won't necessarily get into everything because that's a bit
Yeah.
much. But I just
Hmm.
wanted to acknowledge that. So also from a business standpoint, if anybody wants to deal with us, as far as advertising, marketing, if you want to have an ad on the podcast, we welcome that. You can hit me up at on Twitter at the Fifth General or Instagram. You could DM me, uh, or you could DM Zaccheus. Zaccheus, what's your give your social media?
Hit me up at Twitter at Wayne Backus 2.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can hit me up on even Instagram Zacchaeus B 73 on Instagram, and also on Facebook, Wayne Zacchaeus Backus on Facebook too. So definitely DM me for sure. Yeah.
All right. So today's topic, it's a strong one. We gonna call this God and Guns. Oh yeah,
Mm.
we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna relate this to the most recent terrorist attack. I'm gonna call it because that's what it is. Terrorist attack against a Jewish synagogue. Um, it's not right. Reminds me of the Dylan Roof shooting a couple years ago in North Carolina. and any other things that have happened throughout the couple years in history. I mean, it's like it's just ridiculous. So we want to bring in our brother from the round circle. Cinema Scapes is here. Say what's up to the people.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
What's going on? So he gonna join us for this season 2 premiere. This our boy. So he's a household name for us. He a regular. So it is what it is. So
Yeah.
he gonna join the conversation, and we're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna get all different opinions. Some of us might match up, some of us don't. It's fine. You know what I mean? But this is what we're here for, to talk about it. So,
Right.
Cinema, if you don't mind, I'm actually gonna let you go first. Um, so you don't necessarily have to report it, but what's your opinion and overall take of what happened in Pittsburgh, and your opinion on how the situation is being handled by the justice system. Uh, post this shooting. Go ahead, Cinema.
First of all, you know, we're going into like many years of these things happening
Yep.
because we still have the fight about gun control, and we're talking about the PACs, the money that people are getting to avoid this issue.
Yep.
So basically, when you talk about white nationalists, Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
they hate blacks, they hate Jews, they hate Christians,
Right.
even though they kind of try to call themselves that.
Right. They hate Muslims. They hate pretty
They
much
hate-
everybody who's not them.
who basically doesn't, you don't agree with me.
Right. If you don't abide with, if you are white and you don't abide by their ideology, they ain't too happy with you either.
Right.
And-
And so basically,
Mhm.
I'll share the first line of this article,
Go ahead.
which is like Pittsburgh, armed with an AR-15 style assault rifle and at least 3 handguns, a man shouting anti-Semitic slurs opened fire inside a Pittsburgh synagogue Saturday morning, killing at least 11 congregants and wounding 4 police officers and 2 others, the authorities said.
Mm.
Basically, if you're taking down police officers, you're not just a random hand guy, because that ain't normal. So
Right.
basically, this dude is armed to the hip with the weapon of choice, which has been around, the school shooting even in Florida, the AR-15.
Yes.
This seems to be the weapon of choice, number one.
Right.
So, a house of worship,
Mm-hmm.
where nobody's usually armed.
Yeah.
This is a punk move.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
It's a straight punk move. And not only were the victims hurt, first responders were hurt,
Yeah.
and families are affected, communities are affected.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's ridiculous. And the whole thing is, when you get to the end of it, what's the same response? Name calling. Somebody wants to blame a Democrat.
They blame Democrat for making everything free. Oh, they're too liberal. They're too liberal. They're too free.
Nah, I want to blame you for signing into law, taking away that a person who's mentally ill can't have a gun.
Oh, speak on it.
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, yes.
Mr. President. But, okay, I don't like the president personally.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I don't hate him, but I respect the position, and that's about it.
Right.
But a lot of the rhetoric that's coming from there and his rallies
Mm-hmm.
is what's giving people the idea that they can do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically the response, the judicial response is, we'll get to that. He was taken alive.
Yes.
AR-15, 3 guns. Alive
Shooting cops.
by the
Yes.
cops. And he shot 4 of them.
Yeah.
and once again, can you reiterate again? Are taken alive.
Right. I
Yeah.
want to know why these shooters are taken alive and people who are unarmed are dead.
Go
Because
ahead.
because they value the life of a white supremacist over a 12-year-old black child in this country.
Right.
Speak on it, Jay.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
And we'll unpack that a little more
Mhm,
later.
Exactly.
But, I'm just going over the general facts real quick to just set this up. So, you know, we're talking about a Holocaust survivor on U.S. soil killed. You survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
You survived the concentration camp.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable and this is ridiculous. Unacceptable. And I'm going back and forth with some of these right Christians who I went to Bible college with. I won't name the Bible college on the air because I'm not even hating on the college itself. I'm just talking about some of my fellow students who don't even go or have any association with it anymore. And they're talking about grandstands and things that don't matter. And I was saying before this happened, I'm like, even before the two black people got shot down and hunted by another guy in another state, that you guys don't care. You just want to be right. But when somebody innocent lose their life, it's going to be too late. And you're just going to be there grandstanding. And you're still going to be grandstanding.
Yeah.
And then I just got sick of it and blocked them. Because I'm tired of it. Because you're not concerned about everyday people. Because if a bomb is going through a thing, anybody in the post office or anybody who handles that can be injured.
Exactly.
That's somebody who didn't ask for it getting injured because of some psychopath. I'm walking out for a walk and some dude decides to shoot me because I'm black.
Like
I didn't ask for it.
Like that
Like
shooting, Kroger, the shooting at the Kroger grocery store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which happened right before this.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so, you care more about being right than a victim?
Yeah.
I care, you have no compassion. That's what Jesus said. If you really don't have compassion, you're not me. If if you hate your brother, you're a murderer and love is not in you. That's what the Bible says.
That's what the Bible says.
Speak on it.
That's not an interpretation of the Bible. Those are the words that are printed there.
Yeah, direct.
Yes.
Direct, live and direct for you. Not an interpretation, not this dogma and false usage like they did for slavery, not the false usage like they did for the Crusades. If you really take what's really being said to heart, this behavior is unacceptable.
Exactly.
And so basically, you have all this, and this dude is taken alive.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Well, it's just like the guy who, a year ago, remember the guy and he had those garbage, he had those bombs in the garbage cans in Chelsea in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And when they found him in Jersey, they rolled up on him. Your man was laying down, and then he got up, bow, and they took him alive.
Oh, I'll give you one better.
He
Pennsylvania, the guy who ambushed a cop.
Yeah.
How did he get taken alive?
Well,
he ambushed two cops and then hid in the woods for how long? Alive.
This is what I want to make sure people are hearing when we say this. The overall point that we're making is that we've had situations where unarmed black men, women, and child, and other people of color who have been unarmed, they haven't been taken alive, but the ones who have been shooting at the cops, who just so happen to not be of the complexion of rich melanin, those are the ones that are being taken alive. All we're saying is this: if you could take the shooter alive, then take the one who not the shooter alive. That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinema.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get back to you in just a second, only because I gotta get to Zaccheus on this. Zaccheus, let's do this. Let's draw this together. This reminds me of the Dylan Roof shooting, right?
So yes, the Dylan Roof shooting. Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
even I'll say even worse in this sense. You find Dylan Roof, instead of taking him into custody first,
Put them together. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you go to Burger King
Get
and
him
make
a
sure
burger.
he gets a Whopper with cheese. I
Yeah.
mean,
Hello.
I don't
It's not
understand this.
funny, but
Right?
gosh.
No, but right. It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
It is.
Exactly.
It just. You know what it is? They don't have to say it, but it just shows the value of us compared to them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying. They don't have to say it that our lives don't matter. It's if they saying it, they're saying it in their actions.
exactly. I want to get your overall view because we got to get to this. I'm gonna get back to cinema. Um. So here's the thing. So the shooting happened, and then we've gone through historically what has happened.
Mhm.
Zaccheus, give me your opinion on the events of today and the events of the past, and what could we implement to protect all places of worship, churches, cathedrals, synagogues, mosque, all of that.
The
Which,
thing is that,
mm-hmm,
and still till this day, and cinema, you know that to this day, a lot of churches do not carry guns. I'm not talking about huge churches. They don't. I don't want to name some, but there's few churches that I've been into that over the years that they're not armed. I mean, I guess they believe that the protection of the Lord is on them, so they don't believe in being armed. They don't believe in being armed. They don't have ushers at the door, but they don't believe in being armed.
right,
And it is because when you're like that and you have a capacity of a big congregation, it start now. Time now is like things are getting more serious now because even in churches in the city of Manhattan, now I see policemen there in the churches now. I've never seen that a few years ago, but now I'm seeing it more and more often. I'm seeing it more and more often now. Police in the churches, in the churches and everything, and but even going back into the past, we were not protected. I mean, as far as congregation, no reverence and respect for God, for the house of the Lord, because the biggest case in history I thought was the four little girls.
Mm-hmm.
63,
Exactly. Exactly.
1963, the four little girls, which was it was if that was that hate in America, if that didn't air us, if that view of them girls getting killed in the church, if that was not the view that was so ugly, I don't know what else is, man. Because on that,
Yeah.
I think he spoke on that the next day.
Mm-hmm.
That is no reverence or respect for house of God. Is no these four little girls didn't ask to be here, but they were due to the clan. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing too. The clan, the freedom for them to ride around, the freedom for them to ride around, and the freedom for them to to voice their opinion. But oh no, but you see,
But Cap
Panthers,
can't kneel. But Cap can't kneel. You
exactly. You
know,
see, the Panthers, we were infiltrated, destroyed, and
murdered,
dismantled, murdered and dismantled. But
murdered.
the clan and white supremacy is still here. It says a lot.
sure it
It does
does.
say a lot.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as protection and as far as like reverence for God is none today. So this is why I feel that right now we're living in these times, and even back then we didn't. I guess back then our folks didn't see the churches being armed so much, but in this time and these times is a need because in many situations we're soft targets. The congregations are soft targets. Back then they were even softer because the clan used to just walk. Remember that back in the past, the clan used to just walk into churches and burn churches down. If they feel
Or
that
pull
somebody
some,
was,
or
if they
pull
feel,
somebody out and lynch him.
pull somebody out the
Yes,
church and lynch them or burn their churches down.
that
That's what
happened
the clan
every
used to do.
day.
After
Mm-hmm.
1865, when the clan was born, that's what happened. They
Yeah.
burned churches down, pulled people out, lynched them. It was no reverence and respect, and yet they talk about God, Christians, and it was more. but now we're living in a day age is need we the churches need to be armed because
can
of what's going on.
can I say something real quick
Go ahead.
while we're here?
Go ahead, Cinema.
Number one, whenever the white race didn't exist to a certain year, and it was in the 1600s. Number one,
Oh, speak on that.
but
Well, hold on. We'll probably save that for later.
yeah,
Go-
but
go ahead.
I want to make that point because I'm
Okay.
going to go farther back.
Right.
Whenever somebody who really wasn't for the church combined with the church or tried to use the church, something bad happened. It started with the Romans. The Romans Christianity wasn't real Christianity, and they used it as a cover for murder. Next, you got the Crusades. Next, you have this country in slavery. And see, a lot of people don't want to deal with the Bible because this is why I try to tell them it ain't the Bible. You can misuse anything. If I take a nail gun like my man did in Lethal Weapon 3 or 2, whichever one it was, and shoot a guy, that's not what a nail gun was invented for. It's just misused. Nailed them. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because when you misuse something, and that's what this rhetoric has done. Oh, we're this and you do this and we're gonna, yeah, abortion is wrong, but you can't go on one issue in a two-party system because you're not gonna get everything you need and believe through a two-party system. Number one.
Facts.
Number one.
Facts.
And people saying if you vote for this guy, you're not a Christian. How can the blood of Jesus be negated by a vote, which I used on your album?
Core World Chapter 2.
Exactly. Go look it up. It's on Apple Music. It's on Tidal. It's on everything. Check it out. So basically,
the example.
basically, this is misuse. So when you want to misuse and abuse Christianity, but your life doesn't show Christianity, when you got mistresses and stuff like that, when you want to end immigration, where we want to see your wife's papers, it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. So basically, since it doesn't affect you, it's still the Jewish community. No one's gone up into. I ain't got no beef with Joel Osteen. Y'all know that. But no one's going up into Joel Osteen. Nobody's going up into Kenneth Copeland. Nobody's going up into Hillsong's New York. And I don't want nothing to happen to either of them because I like these people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Grew up learning from Copeland. But no, that part of the church hasn't been affected yet. It's been small black churches. It's been small churches. Small synagogues. Nobody's going to a mega church because they know what they're going to meet there. They don't want no. The thing about a terrorist and a coward, they don't want no smoke.
No.
They don't really want smoke. They want to come in. And so when they came in a group, like so many more people than more people in the church, and dragged the dude out. Yeah. It's about intimidation and fear. That's what it's what it's about. Yeah. And when you're lighting the match of fear, it's dangerous because the whole thing is they're becoming violent and militant based on a lie. When like black people trying to mind their business and someone's calling the police on them. I'm cooking on a grill. Police? Come on. Where did that come from? Because it didn't happen when I was growing up. It's me.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Or I'm sitting in a car. This is another one. I'm sitting in a car in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
I'm sitting waiting for somebody, and all of a sudden the cops are called.
Or I'm in a Starbucks in Philadelphia.
I'm going to a Waffle House and I'm ordering food, and all of a sudden now, something's wrong with the money. Okay, the cops are called.
Exactly. Or I'm trying to go to my own apartment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So all of this has built up to this. This is what I'm saying. All of this has built up to this moment. Now it's pouring out past our community. Now we want to talk about it and do something.
Yeah. Hey, you know it's a sad day where you're in your apartment and somebody goes into your apartment and shoots you and says, "Oh, I thought this was my apartment, and I thought he was an intruder. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that female
Yes.
cop down here in the city that I live in right now in Dallas, who
Yes.
went up in
I
the
heard
man
about
went
that.
up in the man's apartment
Right.
and said
You
that
can't.
her key opened his door, and then she shot him dead.
And they proved it false anyway.
And they proved it
But
false because the neighbors said, "Yo, we heard her banging on the door." So I mean,
exactly.
it goes to show that I just want to remind black people the fight is still on. The civil rights movement didn't end; it got interrupted.
Exactly.
That's what I want people to understand. It never ended. It just got interrupted when we kept having our vocal black speakers being murdered. So it never ended. So let me just say this because I need to get into this at the half of the show. So what do we do? What do we do? What is our suggestion for? Okay, first let's do this. Okay, so let's talk about the big churches, the when we mean big, we mean more financially fortunate ministries than the others, right? What we've seen is those types have been able to afford armed security
Yes.
because they were able to afford it. Now, what about the ones that can't afford it, which would be mainly the smaller churches, the more personal churches, with a smaller congregation, smaller places of worship, the synagogues and the mosque and all that. What is our suggestion for them, the ones that can't afford to have police there, that can't afford to? What are the certain methods that we can implement that can help them out? Zaccheus, I have you take lead on this one.
So, first of all, I mean, the ushers could train for security, as far as security measures, or what they can do is precinct and maybe get a police officer there, if possible.
Right.
Because I don't know the procedures of that, but I believe that other small churches are targeted, and the not so big churches are targeted a lot. Not to say that the big churches are not targeted, but as far as like we've seen the targets in the black churches and certain churches, and we seen the easy them and easy to infiltrate them and easy to harm people. Because Dylan Roof, that was an all black church. It was not and the church that he walked into and shot those people it was a small church. It was not a mega church.
Yep.
It was a small church. I have Bible study with them, and next thing you know, if they can have police presence, that would be better, because we see who the targets is.
So,
like off-duty cops too. Just to add on the 2 cents,
right.
because they're allowed to carry 24/7 because they're a cop. Even somebody trained with a gun, even while the other people are getting trained, because even the people there can go through training so they can carry. As long as you know how to use it and you're not going to accidentally just you can't handle kickback and things of that nature, because you also want to think safety. That's why when they were saying give it to teachers, I'm like, nah.
No, not teachers.
Oh,
Forget
teachers.
that.
Right. No, this is what they were saying
No,
after Florida.
I know that was the thing.
That was insane.
I didn't agree with that one. The only thing I agreed with is with having armed security in a
Right.
trained armed security, legit security in the
Exactly.
schools. I did not agree with the teachers having the guns.
I'm just making a point,
Right,
Wayne, and,
exactly.
and I'm just showing you
Right.
how the sides were arguing.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm like, and I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Get somebody there, and like where they have some places, it depends on where you are. Because some places they have a guy around in a car.
Right.
Like where I used to go to church, there was always somebody sitting in the parking lot,
Right.
just in case something went down. And it's because every state's different.
Yeah.
it might have to take something federal to make a difference.
Right. Now let me get to that real quick. So I come from an opinion of this. I think from this point on a federal scale, on a national scale, I'm okay with a special license for clergy persons. So if you're a pastor, a deacon, reverend, whatever you are, at least as far as in the church building, I definitely want you to get some training, do some hours of target practice, something, because you got to know gun safety. But I'm okay with the pastor strapped. Now, I'm going to explain why. Before this synagogue shooting, there was an episode of Black Lightning, show on CW.
Yes,
And
show,
on the first episode of season 2, Thunder walked in there. Wait, hold on. Okay. Well, I gave it away. It was Thunder walked in there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's been weeks.
Right,
if
right.
you haven't seen that, my bad.
Thunder walked in there disguised. She wasn't in her typical Thunder costume. She walked in there with a mask on. When she walked in there with a mask on, the deacon, first the pastor, who was played by Clifton Powell, and the deacon pulled their guns out, cocked it back, and was ready for war in case something was going to happen. And
because of what happened in season 1, let them know, let the listeners know.
Right. Because of what happened prior to that in season 1, where they were marching and they shot they went to shoot Black Lightning. The bullet went through him, but it hit the kid who they call Painkiller now, and he was paralyzed from the neck down until Tobias gave him green light. Okay, I'm going too much into it. But
it's
the
okay.
point,
but that's season
right.
Yeah, but
right.
that's season 1.
Right.
It's fine. We in season 2.
Right,
if
but
you ain't seen that,
exactly. But that was season 1. I was watching that episode, and I saw that as a means of this. I said, wow. I also thought about the Dylan Roof shooting, and I started thinking, wow, if there was a situation where Dylan Roof walked up in that church, even though he waited for about an hour, and if the pastor was packing, he probably would have ran out of there. He might have got one shot off, but he probably would have ran out of there. Because I'm gonna tell you what's happening. What's happening is that these suckers, these cowards, these terrorists, these punks, they're walking up into places where they're like, they ain't got no guns, so I'm gonna go in there and do me. Now, if you had a situation where some type of bill was passed, that it would be more expected that there might be some heat in the church, I think that's the deterrent that would be necessary, because then they would know, I ain't gonna run up in here because I can get blasted on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that same energy that people have when they run up in banks where you got armed security would be that same energy that people would have to deal with when running up in a small church. Because that's what it is. They running up in small churches. They're not running up in Potter's house.
Oh,
yeah. They ain't running in. They're not running into those churches. Okay.
Right.
They're not running into what's another big church? They're not running into Rhema or Victory or Lakewood. They're not running up in those churches, because I guarantee they're probably thinking in their mind, if I run up in this church, I might not walk out of here alive.
Right.
And my thing is, that's my whole point. The intent that you're already going to go up in there and do a freaking massacre, there should be some type of fear. I mean, the fear God. So that when you walk up in there with a little pistol starter, it could be your last day. I'm sorry. Now I know some people in the faith might be listening to this program, and saying, hold on, man, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. Ah. But let me tell you something. If I'm a pastor in my church, you ain't about to walk up in my church and shoot me and my people. Oh, no, you catching it. You catching a hot one.
And I'll say this without saying names of where I've been, because you'll never know, because I worked a lot of places. One place, I knew the dude who was walking next to the pastor was trained in packing. and that's all I will say about that. And this was back in the 90s.
90s, yeah.
And so, because people, let's just say this: people's pastors' wives, I know, have been cussed on and soda thrown on them in parking lots, harassed, and this is before this craze started. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How shots outside of the home, houses TP'd, and things of this before this craziness. And you have to, the well-being of the family and well-being of the congregation, they had to step it up. It's terrible, but now it's worse because people are walking into the church and walking into the synagogues, walking into the mosque and stuff. There's other places that have been set on fire. There's been arson.
Hey, I know this is a movie and all that, but you remember Media Man?
Yeah.
Remember when he protected all of them?
Yeah.
The point I'm making is that, and that was outside. Everything ain't outside.
Right.
They trying to get inside. Now you got the stuff that's outside. So that's why I'm saying we need protection for the whole campus.
Right.
And then
exactly.
And then you know what? On the issue of protesting and demonstration, I'm for protecting them there too. So I can understand that. And the one thing that I want to bring up that happened within the last 15 years, you remember when the guy walked up in Victory during an altar call and Billy Joe Doherty got punched in his eye?
Yes.
And the only thing that stopped him from being assaulted was an usher who tackled him, an usher and a church member who tackled that guy. Now imagine if he would have had a gun.
Right, that could have been.
He would have murdered that pastor.
Can I mention too what happened in history?
Now Billy Joe is gone now, but when he was alive, that's when that happened. So I'm just saying that these are things that all ministries have to, and it's on YouTube. All ministries of all religions have to take this into consideration. They do. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, Zaccheus, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no! When you mentioned that, I said I heard about that. I heard about that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember when Dr. King was assaulted when he was preaching.
Yep.
You know what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know somebody ran up in, somebody tried to kill his mother in church?
Yeah.
I think it happened actually.
Right. Well,
his mother was, I think, assassinated in the church. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I heard.
No, it was an attempt.
It was an attempt. It wasn't successful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But they ran up into the church.
They ran up in there.
Yep.
Oh.
So it ain't the first time, but the whole thing is, all of a sudden, the incidents were so farther apart, it wasn't an epidemic. Now you're hearing about church shootings. It's becoming as common as school shootings.
School shootings, yes.
And so that's the problem. So exactly, we have to come up with some kind of deterrent. And it's like, okay, if it's a trained person, I don't want the wild. Personally,
we don't want the Wild West.
I don't want the Wild West. Yeah. Everybody don't need to have no gun. Number one, if you're mentally sane and you can have a gun and own a gun, have at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about get the guns out of these people who are dangerous. Right. There's people who have beliefs and stuff that are radical, but they ain't going around shooting nobody. They have it on their own property and they're protecting their house. I'm all good with you. Now, you ain't doing nothing to nobody. We ain't doing nothing to you. You got the right to bear arms and to protect your property. I ain't talking about that. I'm like, if a person is obviously a threat and they have stuff, everybody had stuff on their Facebook and stuff, and they were outspoken about it, and there were signs, and nothing was done. Those type of people, something has to be done about it, and there has to be a deterrent, somebody there to protect these people, because they see people taken alive and they get glamorized. Maybe I'm not even an advocate for killing, but if one of them gets dropped, maybe it may change somebody else's mind.
Yeah.
Who don't want to die.
Exactly.
It's
Right.
and I don't want it to come to that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want it to. But so what did you do in the fight when you're in the street? You looked at the biggest one. If you knocked him out, the crew split up.
Yes.
I'm taking him out.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta make an example so everybody can fear. Even the Bible says, open rebuke so that others may fear. So they ain't gonna be doing that garbage.
Exactly.
And so, it's gonna be like you can't come up here and get away with it.
No.
Something has to be done.
No. And that's a sad thing. And here's the thing. So you have that situation with the synagogue and the Dylan Roof shooting years ago and whatever church shootings. Every time you turn around, there's something. And remember what I said to you, Cinema, off air, all we had to do was pick a year. So now let's do this. So here's what a lot of these people have in common with these church shootings. They have been white supremacists, terrorists. The media likes to do a very interesting job of not calling them terrorists. Now, when you commit an act of terrorism, you are a terrorist.
Period.
There is no other words around it. It has nothing to do with an organization that you're affiliated with. Everything ain't an organization. I understand that. But then they'll say stuff like this. Well, these guys are lone wolves. See, I don't like that. What you're basically saying is they're lone wolves. So because of that, we're going to treat them according to what a lone wolf would do. So we're not going to really maximize the sentencing and the vitriol and the demonization against this against the killer because they were quote unquote lone wolves. Now here's my thing: you're not a lone wolf to me if your ideology is grand. So they share this same ideology, these neo-Nazis. At that point, you're not a lone wolf. You are in concordance with a ideology that is grand amongst a population of people. So you may not necessarily be part of the Klan, but you're doing the Klan's work. Okay? You may not be part of the skinheads, but you're doing the work of the skinheads or whatever white nationalist group. You may not be in them, the brotherhood itself, but you're doing the actions of it. So to that degree, you are not a lone wolf. The media, stop this garbage. Okay? And secondly, here's another thing. The reason why these people are taken alive is because some of the cops themselves are part of the white nationalist brotherhood. That's why they're taken alive. And,
Speak on it. Yeah.
And that is the double truth, Roof. So one of the things that we got to look at from this standpoint, and we're going to close up and we got about a good 15, 10 minutes. So like 20, 15, 20 minutes. So here's what I want to get deeper into. I'm a little long-winded. I'm going to get to my point. So you've mentioned earlier, Cinema, about what these people have in common when you was talking about that rhetoric that these people believe, sad to say, repeating and regurgitating some of the things that you would hear at a Trump rally, a.k.a. a KKK rally, basically. And so they have that in common. So I find that to be interesting. And also you said that anytime church shooting happens or anything of a mass shooting, whether it's in a church or school, they always want to do some side talk and bring up politics into it. When the politics don't belong in this conversation, the conversation should be, what do we do to prevent the next?
Right.
But it's always the same cycle. Church gets shot up. Let's talk about gun control. Democrat versus Republican. Oh, election is coming up. That's another thing. This thing just so happened to happen right before November 6th.
Yeah.
Which is tomorrow.
We're recording this on November 5th. By the time we air this Friday, that'll be done with. But what I'm saying is I find it interesting how this happens a week before the election. Very interesting.
Exactly.
I believe a lot of this stuff is by design. You could call me a conspiracy theory nut. I don't care. But I believe a lot of this is by design. I believe the media and all of this is planned by design. So I want to ask this question, Cinema. What can be done from a political standpoint, from a legislative standpoint, that could actually stick? What is it that we've had that we need to bring back? And what is it that we don't have that we need to put on? That's your opinion.
Number one, you remember how carjacking stopped in Jersey?
Oh, yeah. A long time ago.
It became a minimum of 40 years. It was like you were going to be gone so long that your life is over.
Yeah.
So even on the lowest offense, if the highest offense is ridiculous and the lowest offense will give you 20 to 30 years, that'll make you stop and think. Remember, New Jersey, they were jacking cars 5 minutes. I know a guy who went into Burger King, did not leave the keys in his car, came out, his car was gone.
Yeah. Toyota Camrys especially, remember?
Exactly. But when you put your foot down and make consequences, it's fine. But there are no consequences. There's consequences for murder. But the weapons are still available. Oh, somebody signed an executive order and somebody else made another one to overturn it when there was progress. Because he's mad because he wants to undo everything a black man did.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast. And so when Michael Jackson said it, and Michael Jackson realized it before he died. Like, even if you listen to history, they don't really care about us.
You got that? Yep, you got that right. Yeah.
You ever
he said in the song.
If you ever print the lyrics about that, all the things that happen in history and stuff, print the lyrics out and read those lyrics and take it away from that nice bop, because that groove was hot, because that song is fire.
Because they didn't really care about us.
Song is fire. But take away the lyrics and read those lyrics, and then go watch the prison version of that video when he's in jail.
Yeah.
Which really emphasized the record company didn't want to deal with it. They made him do the other video with the kids.
Yeah, the networks didn't want to play it either.
They didn't want to play the jail version.
Yeah, they didn't want to play that. Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's on his Vivo. So go check it out, and check out also the visual cues, because like it was a Childish Gambino style video back then, the prison version, and check out the cues that are in that video and a lot of subtle things, and you'll see what he was saying, because that album was when he was going through the court case because they were mad at him. Because he ended up owning 51% of Sony, and with that album, they were trying to kid him from doing history, because after history, he was a free agent. And then they were trying to hurt Invincible because that was the last album he owed them. And then all of a sudden, he ended up dead. Like when Prince got his whole catalog and ended up dead. But that's another podcast too.
Right.
Another podcast.
But basically, that's the overtones. Who everything is in America is self-preservation. It's racism, but under the guise of classism. They want to keep you down. They create a ghetto except they're just not murdering you like the Nazis did the Jews.
Right.
Same concept,
Uh,
except you can live a full life. You're not going to a concentration camp. Same
uh,
exact concept.
keeping that concept. Wow. Yep.
Same exact concept. And if you don't see that, and then when you get out of the class and get to the middle class, they want you to change your ideology and forget where you came from. And don't tell me
Yes.
nothing. Don't tell me nothing because I lived this myself.
Mm.
They want
And
you to
then
change. Yep.
yeah, they don't, because they're not concerned about doing what's right. And if you think people are concerned about doing what's right, you're living in a facade and a fairy tale. Like Billy Joe said on Pressure, all your life is Channel 13. If you're not from New York, that's PBS. Sesame Street. What does it mean? I know what it means. Pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure. Yeah.
And they apply the pressure for you to change, for you to compromise,
Mm-hmm.
because they really don't want to have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
They just
Aye.
want they just want you to debate and fight until you forget about it. And that's what our media is designed to do. Next person.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. Go ahead,
Cinema
Zaccheus.
hit it. Cinema hit it right on the nail, and he couldn't have said it even. He couldn't have said it even better. He couldn't have said it better, than what he said. It's so true. There is a facade because when things happen, like gun control, it's never like it's never like okay, come to a concrete solution. It go when things happen, as you can see, it fades away.
Mhm.
Then they talk about it, sit down, drink tea, talk about it, and then it happens again. Then it goes. Then it's like a cycle. They drink tea, talk about it, then wait till it happens again. Then they talk about it, see what they're gonna do about it. But what's really being done? There's a lot of mentally ill people out there, but nothing is really being done about it. Let's think about it. So it's all of it's like a game, and it's a system that is designed to keep you in a certain place, especially when you haven't reached. And he's right. When you reach a certain plateau, they want you to keep silent about certain things. The minute you step out, like Michael Jackson and Prince, that's a different topic. But the minute you step out of the box and say, "Listen, this needs to be changed and that needs to be changed," and then and he's speaking from your heart, the truth, they silence you, and that's what it is.
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Michael
Amen.
Prince, any
Amen.
any
Mega
activist.
Evers, all that.
Exactly. We could
Yeah.
go on for
We can go on for
days.
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 Yeah.
For days. Then we can have a whole different topic about that. It's explode. I mean, man,
It's not
it's
new
huge.
because it's
Yeah,
just about the
yeah.
concept. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a truth speaker, like the church wanted to kill Martin Luther back in the Reformation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because actually read your Bible and see what it actually says. Don't depend on this preacher. But we're back to that in America, where
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the high preacher who tell you, and if I show you something in the Bible, you don't care
Yeah.
because you don't really want to know what it really says. You
Thank you.
just want to be
Mm.
part of a movement
Thank
because
you.
people don't really know what's in the Bible
Thank
and
you.
stuff. And it's all the same thing. It's the systematic thing. That's why I call it Christianese. That's what I call American Christianity because it's a joke. Because when I go on missions in other places in the world, they don't even view the Bible like us
Yeah.
because they know what it really says.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
that's why they don't mess with us, a lot of people overseas.
They leave the politics out of it. Because
Right.
it shouldn't be there
Because
to begin with.
politics should not be in Christianity.
Nope.
And there's a guy who wrote a book. I can't remember his name. He helped Pat Robinson do that. He felt guilty and wrote a book how he put politics and Christianity in this country and it's ruined it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And people are swearing by it and they will not let it go. And Jesus said, render to Caesar what's Caesar's, render to God is what's God.
God.
Whose face is on the coin? Caesar. Pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Pay the government what they're supposed to have. But keep that away from God's stuff because those are two separate things. And that's what Jesus meant when you see what he said, not a preacher's interpretation of that.
I mean, I'll tell you something right now. I mean,
Exactly.
they call that the 700 Club, but with all that racism that goes on there, half of the time they should call it the 666 Club.
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly. Because it
Ain't
ain't
no
a
call no names. We know who that is. Okay.
Oh, please. Who says we should pray for a Supreme Court justice to die? That's what my dad saw about Christianity. That's why my dad didn't get saved for years.
Mm.
because he had to get around all that stuff and realize that stuff ain't real Christianity.
That's hate.
That's hate. And what you see of all this on the TV is not real Christianity, people.
Exactly.
Don't be fooled. Go find out what it really is.
Exactly.
Because it's humility.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to continue in pride, you're not really a Christian. You're just a prideful narcissist and probably a racist. Because the Bible says if you hate your brother, you're a murderer, and eternal life is not in you.
We'll see.
And so if this guy claims to be a Christian, he's a different color, and you still hate him because of the color of his skin. Yeah. Guess what? Eternal life is not. You are a murderer, and eternal life is not in you.
Well, think about it. The KKK.
And I didn't say it.
The KKK called themselves a religious organization.
Right. They don't call themselves Christians.
And guess what? They don't. They according to the government, they are treated from a tax standpoint as a religious organization, not a hate group, but a religious organization. But you're burning crosses. So how is it that the same people that don't like Kaepernick when they kneel are okay with burning crosses, the same people that burn crosses was burning Nike sneakers when he became the spokesman?
Speak on it.
I find it interesting. True. I'd rather you burn the sneakers than to burn crosses.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pick one.
And number one, it's like those people who burnt the rock records in the 60s, the church people. Y'all done bought it and gave them people money to burn it. You had to pay for those Nikes to burn them. I know you didn't burn them in the store because that's arson and you're going to jail now.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk.
So, it's when we speak about Kaepernick, there's so much people that they, it's even some of our folks. I mean, we talk like Kaepernick is like a don't bring his name up. Don't speak on his name. Like, in other words, it's like wrong what he did. It's like a curse of what he did. It's like listen.
There's a okay. Yeah. Hold up. My dad's a Marine. My brother's in the Army. I grew up a military brat. When they give a dead family the flag, they kneel as what? A sign of respect.
A respect, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kneeling has always been a sign of respect. You kneel to pray. All of a sudden, he was sitting, and no one did that. So he talked to a military guy, and they agreed to kneel for him to kneel, to at least show respect to the country, but have a nice private protest. You're ignorant. Now, whether you agree with him or not, it's his right. Even if a soldier doesn't agree with him or not, I fought for that freedom for him to have that choice. And that's not disrespectful, like burning a flag, burning a cross, burning there's no desecration. Nobody would say nothing when he was sitting his butt on the bench, because a lot of guys still sit on the bench when the flag's up. But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
It's hypocritical because it affects your ideology and your pride. You really don't care about the issue. You don't. That's why the block button is my friend. You don't have to take anybody's garbage in this day and age. There's block. There's block on your phone. There's block on Facebook. There's block on every social media device. You don't have to listen to that garbage. And so it's hypocrisy. And that's what Jesus said. You teachers, you're Pharisees of the law. You're hypocrites. You say don't do this, but when it's about money, you still take that. You're a hypocrite.
Yeah.
There's a whole exactly.
Don't play the lottery.
Whatever. You're a hypocrite. If I played the lottery, I wouldn't be like, oh, don't you play the lottery. People want that jackpot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're a hypocrite. A hypocrite will always tell you what not to do and do it. They don't really care about it. They don't really care about the issue. They care about being right in the moment. But they're really a hypocrite because they're going to go home and do the opposite.
Yeah. Well,
it's true. And that's what you're dealing with. That's what you're dealing with in the White House. That's what you're dealing with in Congress. That's what you're dealing with in the Senate.
Yeah.
It's grandstanding. If you really wanted to do something about guns, it would have been done. It would have been
done by now.
When the last president was in.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been done by now.
But they got too much money in your pockets, and you like living that way.
Yeah. The KKK. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. The NRA.
Exactly. And then it's like, you got nice government health care. Why don't you live on the health care the people got? Oh,
Yeah,
you'll change the law real quick.
exactly, exactly.
Whatever.
And on that note, um, we're coming to the end of our show. Anybody have a closing statement? Zaccheus.
Shamik said enough. So
Okay, all right. Zaccheus, you got a closing statement?
Yeah, we live in some crazy and some perilous times, but all I gotta say is that we as a small congregations and huge congregations, black churches or non-white churches or churches out there, we gotta protect ourselves, man. And
Yeah.
this is something that is serious. We're living in these times that people don't reverence and respect. Even back then, they don't. It's never a reverence or respect for God's house. So now it's even more. It's a great falling away from the church. So we got to protect ourselves.
yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Um, I'm good on my closing statements. I just want to say this ending this episode. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Mrs. Z and Fifth. Um, stay with us. We got some big plans coming for this podcast and also our other podcasts in the future, the Round Circle. So we want to thank everybody for showing us some love, and we want to thank Cinema for joining us today.
No problem,
So
bro.
Thanks. Yep. Mm-hmm.
you know, so episode 1, season 2 of Mrs. Z and Fifth. Before we get out of here, Cinema. Let the people know how they can reach you.
Cinemascapes Music on IG and Cinemascapes Music on Facebook is the page, and just Cinemascapes on Twitter. Yep, there's a change. Cinemascapes Music. Yep, I got a page, and I'll be promoting this and my music on that.
That's what's up. Zacchaeus, how can they reach you?
Be on Facebook, Wayne Zaccheus Bacchus on Facebook. Also on what Twitter. You can reach me at Wayne Bacchus 2 on Twitter and also on Instagram, Zaccheus B 73, also on Instagram. So check me out.
All right. And you can catch me, the Fifth General, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Fifth General. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Fifth General. All right. So this is Mrs. Z and Fifth signing off. Seeing y'all next time, next episode of Mrs. Z and Fifth. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.